So all of the online MMA community is in a uproar because of this clip.
Get that pressure. Aljo, you gotta go.
As you can see, this is the clip of Suga Sean O'Malley knocking out Aljamain Sterling. And in that clip, it can be seen that Tim Welch, Suga Sean's coach, is saying, "You need to go, Aljo," and then Aljo lunges forward, then he gets knocked out by Suga Sean. The rest is history. And everybody's kind of upset about this because they're saying that he did something dirty, he did something wrong, this isn't the way to win, etc., etc. And I am going to explain to you why everybody's wrong except for me. And there's no issue with this whatsoever. But before I get into it, if you wouldn't mind, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It helps with YouTube algorithm and it helps grow the channel. And let me know in the comments, do you think that they did anything wrong? Is this kind of a dirty way to win? Or did they win fair and square? So the first point I want to make is that I think it's just a happy coincidence that Tim Welch said, "You got to go, Aljo," and then Aljo lunged forward and Suga Sean clipped him, right? I think that is a happy coincidence because at that level, you've got to know that what your coach's voice sounds like, right? I mean, I've competed in jiu-jitsu and other like sports and whatever, and out of crowds and crowds of people yelling and cheering and chanting and this and that, I was always able to pick out the voice of my coach, right? Even when I went and competed in jiu-jitsu in Saudi Arabia there a few weeks ago, a couple months ago, the guy who cornered me, I went and visited the UFC gym in Riyadh, and I did a couple jiu-jitsu classes with him, and I told him I was competing in that tournament, and he's like, "Oh, well, I'll corner you," right? First tournament ever, by the way. And like, even though I barely knew the guy, when he was cornering me and there was a bunch of people yelling instructions and there's lots of noise and whatever, I could still hear him in the jiu-jitsu match. And that was after only knowing him for like 2 days. So I find it really hard to believe that Aljamain Sterling heard Tim Welch's voice, who I'm sure sounds nothing like his coach, and all of a sudden is just like, "Oh, yeah, I'll go. I'll listen to that voice." And I realize, like, in the heat of the moment, maybe it's tough. Maybe it's different. I've never been in an actual, like, MMA fight or anything like that before. But I just find it hard to believe that he couldn't distinguish between his voice and the other voice. And the other thing, too, is this is not out of character of Aljamain Sterling to kind of dash forward, blitz forward, and then hope it turns into some type of clinch or grappling situation, right? This is a really common thing, that some basics that are kind of taught in jiu-jitsu almost, right? Like in the self-defense things, you kind of fake some strikes and then go for a clinch, go for a takedown, etc., right? But Suga Sean is just so precise with his striking that, those sort of feints, those things that he kind of threw out there, Suga Sean was able to cut an angle and then clip him. And so, yeah, it's just one of these things that I find it interesting that the entire kind of online MMA community and the entire online MMA space is sort of saying that something dirty happened here, when, in my opinion, it didn't. Like, first of all, if Aljo really and truly did think that was his coach saying that, like, "You gotta go, Aljo," right? If he truly thought that, even still, like, there's no rule that says you can't do that. There's nothing that says you can't do, psychological warfare or different tricks and mental games and different things like that to try to get the victory, right? There's no rules that say any of that stuff. Although right before that happened, I think Mark Goddard was saying to Tim Welch to stop talking to Aljo. But nevertheless, I think it's really clear that unless there's a specific set of rules, kind of anything is, it looks like anything is fair game. So even if Aljo fell for that and dashed forward because he heard Tim Welch's instructions and got KO'd that way, I still wouldn't see a problem with it. But I don't think that's what happened. Like I said, I think, Aljo goes forward to try to get himself into a clinch or grappling situation. And he did it with like a flurry of strikes there. I think the ultimate intention was to back him up to the fence so he could grab him, a clinch, any of these type of things, and then they're in Aljo's world, right? But Suga Sean did a great job, circled off, hit him. The rest is history. We all know the story. So he didn't cheat. Nobody cheated, right? There's nothing wrong with what happened there. Suga Sean is the champion, whether you guys like it or not. And, it looks like he's going to fight Merab next. That seems to be the situation. Although there does seem to be some talk about him maybe fighting Jose Aldo, maybe him moving up in a weight class, a bunch of different things like that. So that's kind of the situation. I wanted to give my 2 cents on it because I just don't think that the MMA community is being fair. And I think a lot of you guys are a bunch of gullible fools who think that a professional athlete at the highest level of sport is going to think that a guy who doesn't sound anything like his coach is giving him an instruction saying you got to go Aljo, and then he's just going to go ahead and do it. It makes no sense to me at all at the highest level to make such a big blunder like that. It could have been. It really could have been. But even if it was, there's still nothing wrong with that. So, yeah. Y'all are wrong. I'm right. You need to listen to me. And if you're really a good listener, subscribe. Do it. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. We will see you next time.